You know it when you see it. The gun barrel. The name.
I admire your courage, Miss,
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
The actors and the action. And for this James Bond aficionado, February 2025 was a massive month in Bond fandom. Stick around and I'll tell you why. Hey everybody, Dr. Mike Lowley here with another edition of Lowley's Lounge, and today we're going to talk about something that's, well, part geeking out and part business oriented. You know, I'm recording this about a week after the announcement by Amazon that the Broccoli family, namely Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, were going to be stepping back from creative control of the James Bond series to allow Amazon to step in and move this property forward. Now, a little background here. A couple of years ago, Amazon purchased MGM, and you know, a very key property in their stable of titles is the James Bond franchise. One of the concerns now is that Amazon will run the Bond series by committee. And I will say that when I look at Amazon's shows and movies, they're, especially from the action, focus or area, I can say to you, like, I love Reacher. Alan Ritchson's an absolutely outstanding Reacher. It's great. And the show's just straight up action. He's a funny guy, all that kind of thing. If you haven't watched it, I strongly recommend it. But the one I don't recommend, unfortunately, is Jack Ryan. And my concern, and that's a show that was on Amazon after having a series of movies over time. John Krasinski was an outstanding choice to be Jack Ryan. He really is, and he's emerged as quite a good actor and an auteur if you look at the Quiet Place movies. But for some reason, and I think it's because Amazon ran Jack Ryan as almost by committee, it felt like that, nothing ever really sizzled on the show. All right, it didn't reach the heights of what I'm seeing in Reacher. Okay, that's my concern for Bond. The other series that I loved beyond anything, and actually my favorite movie of all time, starred Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. My favorite movie of all time is Raiders of the Lost Ark. And when I look at what Lucasfilm and Disney have done with the character, they've they've trashed it the way they've trashed Star Wars over time. So 1999 and 2005, they came out with this 3 movies that were considered prequels to the classic Star Wars films of the 70s. And George Lucas was at the helm, but he was the auteur again. He wrote, directed, etc. Those 3 movies. And say what you will about them, they become popular in hindsight. The quality precipitously dropped even from those to when Lucasfilm took over. And they created the last 3 films that finished the 9-film, what do you call it, nineology? I don't even know the word. Okay, The Rise of Skywalker was terrible. Okay, that was the last one. So you look at that, you look at all the TV properties that they did. Sue and I watched a handful of them for like an episode apiece. They're just not, there's something about it that it's not exciting. And so to me, unfortunately, Star Wars is a great example of what happened too with Indiana Jones. And Indiana Jones, of course, is a property owned by Lucasfilm and really Disney. You know, they had 3 classic films. I don't think they went into it calling it a trilogy in the 80s, but, it ended with The Last Crusade. And I love the scene where Sallah, played by John Rhys Davies, Henry Jones, played by Sean Connery, who played Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford's father, ride off into the sunset. Nope, they came back with a film called The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, Ford, Lucas, and Spielberg, who were the 3 brain trusts there for the first 3 movies, came back for that one. It was lackluster at best. Not because it just didn't work. It just didn't have that alchemy. And a lot of it, again, was because it was feeling corporate. And that's my fear for the Bond flicks, right? Then you come along last year with Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And all I can say is, other than the first 15 minutes where they used age de-aging technology to make Harrison Ford look a lot younger and to show what Indiana Jones would have been doing during World War II, which is a massively missed opportunity. But Dial of Destiny just did not know where it was going. There's something about the film that just doesn't work, which brings me back to James Bond. One of the first things I heard they're going to do, and I think this is pretty, like, it's been reported in several places. One of my favorite actresses, Florence Pugh, starring in a Moneypenny show. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with James Bond, I'll just give you the quick rundown of who Miss Moneypenny is. She's the M's secretary. She is the administrative assistant to who's ever in that role. And yeah, in the Daniel Craig era, she stepped up, and they had a lot more to focus on with that character. But I mean, an hour-long TV show, I just don't know. One thing I would like to see is a show based on Felix Leiter. He's Bond's CIA friend who always shows up to support him in a lot of adventures. But it would be nice to see Felix Leiter, have his own show. But again, if it's done like, Jack Ryan, for instance, it could be a real problem. So, that's my concern, right? I will say this. Their first effort was horrendous, and I'll leave you with this. I think it was James Bond Road to a Million, starring Brian Cox, who thought he was being hired to be a Bond villain in a real James Bond movie, and ended up being a host in like this Amazing Race competition that was just a bad show. But, they went to Bond-type locations. And my wife Sue and I watched it for like an episode and said, boy, this is pretty bad. And we never watched it again. So, if Amazon just provides watered down results like that, we might be seeing the end of James Bond. Except, I'm going to put my business hat on. I don't blame them. Let's hope Amazon knows what they're doing. They do a little bit more Reacher and a little bit less Jack Ryan, much as I love Jack Ryan. And really, we'll see where it goes. I had to say my 2 cents about this because I am a pretty massive Bond fan, if you can't tell. And I appreciate you coming to the lounge. As I say, life's better in the lounge. And if you like, again, what you've seen, please subscribe. Thanks a lot. And I'll see you online.